Job had a situation. And this situation had gotten to the point where it began to affect Job's collateral thinking. See, the problem with most of us is, Bishop, the problem with most of us is that we don't see the collateral damage that the test can do to you. In other words, I can take the pain, but can my wife take it? Can my family bear it? Can anybody else? If I lose my job, it don't only affect me, it affects everybody that I touch. If I lose my faith, it affects everybody that depend on me. If I fall, it affects God's people because they're depending on me to give them all that they need to continue living. Sometimes the test can be more than we can bear. Job had a situation, and the situation was so fragile because Job was a righteous man. The first chapter said Job was a man in the land of Uz, whose name Job was perfect, and he was upright, and he feared God and didn't do evil. He said he was born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance was, in other words, watch this. The word substance here means he was rich. He had everything that he needed. I don't know about y'all, but some of y'all need to think about the stuff that you're holding on to. How much does it mean to you? If you lose it, can you still live? And the thing that the problem of us is that we hold on to stuff, and if we lose it, some of us can't live because we can't handle losing stuff because we have depended on it to live. That must be that little bad boy DJ making all that noise. Calm him down. I'm gonna put him out. Listen to me. One of the things that blows my mind is this, is that we got to learn that the harder you hold, the longer and the tighter that you hold on to stuff, when it's taken away from you, it will drive you crazy. And God is saying to you, loosen up what you're holding on to, because the test is coming. Somebody should shout it right now. The test is coming. In other words, it may not be at your door yet, but it's coming. The stroke is coming. The heart attack is coming. Something is on its way to your door. And if you can't get ready to understand that it's just a test and not a destruction of who you are, then you won't be able to handle it. And suicide will be on your plate, because God is saying the test is coming. Because I have to find out if you truly believe that you say you believe. I got to find out if I break you, are you going to act broken? Are you going to shout? God is saying I need to find out if I take your car, will you still come to church on the bus? God is trying to find out if I take your money, will you still praise me in the morning? God is trying to find out if I take your husband or your wife, will you stand up and give me praise and worship me in the midst of what you're going through? He's tired of us holding on and not being able to recognize the test is coming, but there's victory after the storm. There's victory after the storm. Look at somebody, tell them there's victory after the storm. Job had so much money and so many possessions and 7 sons and 3 daughters and daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws and grandkids and all of the stuff and cattle and houses and land and everything. He had it all. But Satan came to the board meeting where the sons of God were at. And watch this. He says to him, God has said, what you doing here? Isn't it amazing how evil will show up in the presence of good? Ain't nobody said that. Ain't nobody said that. You never witnessed evil show up in the presence of good? You ain't never been having a good conversation and somebody come in and inject their garbage into your conversation? You ain't never been sitting around talking about something good and here comes somebody in the house with some bad news? You ain't never been sitting around telling people how good God was and had somebody raise up from the chair and tell you, what kind of God is that? I don't understand. I ain't got no job. I ain't got no money. What kind of God is that? My husband is a fool. God is still God even when you're going through the test. But you got to recognize it's a test, because if you don't recognize it's a test, then you'll recognize that it's a failure. And people act in failure and they start to do stupid things when things don't go their way. It's easy to quit church when I ain't got no money. I ain't going back there. I ain't got no money to be putting in that offering basket. Look what you're saying to yourself. You're cursing yourself before you even get started. There's been some days I came to church before and years back that I didn't have nothing to give God, but I had something. I had a praise in my mouth. I had a shout in my mouth. I had a worship in my mouth. I was able to come down to the altar and give God all the praise and the glory, because I realized that this, even though I don't have it now, don't mean I ain't going to have it. So I start praising God in advance for what he was going to do. He increased my credit line before I even got a credit card. Somebody ought to tell somebody, he's on his way. I'm going to get the victory out of this storm. Satan says, I'm going around, God, looking for people to devour. The nerve of him telling God that. But then I began to realize something. If Satan was going around, Bishop, looking for people to devour, that means the people he found was already in his camp. See, you got to be careful when you're doing good. Because you got to ask yourself this, am I doing good because God is blessing me? Or am I doing good because Satan is out with him and he don't have no reason to bother me? See, Satan don't bother folk he already got. He don't bother folk that's already sleeping around. He don't bother folks that's already lying. He don't bother folks that's already doing what they want to do, because guess what? Ain't no need to bother them. They already doing what they supposed to be doing nothing. And they already believe that God's not God, and they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. But the bottom line, I want to know, is there anybody in here that's under the attack of the enemy because they living right, because they walking right, because they trusting right, because they giving right? Are you under the attack of the enemy because everything you're trying to do for God, Satan is trying to mess it up, because he knows that if I can get you to change your mind about God, then you'll do whatever it takes to top me with God. You won't come to church. You won't pay your tithe. You won't shout. You won't run. You won't worship. You won't do nothing, because you're taking this test as a disease and it's starting to eat you up. Is there anybody in the room that knows and wants to tell Satan, you better leave me alone, because I know that there's a victory after the storm? You can have me, but you can't kill me. Watch this, watch this, watch this. I'm almost done, because I got to get with you and you got to be out here. Listen to this. Satan told God that I can't find nobody. And God reverted back to Job. He says, have you tried my servant Kaiser? Anybody? I'm not concerned about Job, y'all. I'm sorry. Because Job dead, sleeping in his grave. I need to make this thing real for the day. Have you tried my servant Green? God, he's coming. Collins, Watts, he's coming.